we have to continually remind our teachers in the wings that are painting ceiling panels with asbestos not to hang mobiles and things of that nature, and they're very good about it. But we ran across something this spring where we wanted to install slide projectors, fixed slide projectors in some of the classrooms, you know, that would hook up to computers and we realized, we began that project, and at the last minute realized we had to shut the project down because you don't want to be moving panels. And so we've long discussed the need for this. The bad news here is that $20,000 figure, we've now gone out to get contractual bids, and the cost of mitigating all of the ceiling panel asbestos at the middle school is actually now $60,000.
So we'd have to go 30-30 if we split it?
Well, I think, yes, you would, but this is probably a project you'd want to do all at once. You know, this is work where you are building barriers and vacuum tanks and all of this. We have a lot of experience with it, although we hire people to do it. And we would do it during the summer or during a period in which the school was not populated. So I'm disappointed that it went from 20 to 60, but 20 was just an estimate we had used for discussion purposes. Numbers 4 through 8 are all more significant significant projects, and the costs here are in large part coming out of secondary school building committee documents that were developed 2 or 3 years ago. Numbers 4 through 8 are but 5 of, frankly, 25 projects that one could consider for the middle and high school. So the dilemma is, where do you begin, where do you start? You know, we could be talking septic for middle and high school. We're not. We could be talking roofing. We could be talking replacement of all the windows in the middle school, which would make a great deal of sense if we knew we were going to be here for a period of time.
Well, the problem with the septic, though, Carl, is in my opinion, we've been walking on a tightrope for a couple of years with that system, and you never know when that thing's going to go. I know we have to pump it a lot more frequently than it should be pumped, and you know, we could find ourselves with an emergency situation, who knows when, with that system. So, you know, we keep pushing it off, but at some point we may not have a choice.
Well said. In that case, could be made for several of the other renovation projects. That's why I say these 5 from numbers 4 through 8 are but 5 of maybe 25 that we could be coming to the committee on. And I think that one of our goals in making this presentation tonight is to allow the committee to let the public know that we're faced with increasing challenges of maintaining these 2 secondary buildings. The athletic field situation in North Reading is insufficient for the number of usages we have. The hot water system in this middle school is 1960s technology, and it's cost us a fortune to provide hot water here. Because back in the day where fuel oil, at that time middle school was using oil, not gas, I believe that you could buy oil in those days for less than $1 a gallon. Right. You know, I think, you know, 50, 60 cents. So on and on. The nurse's office here at the middle school is entirely inadequate in terms of privacy. It's a closet. The bell system, you've heard of me joke about it before, how it's a system that is basically a person standing there with a gong hitting a bell. We're almost at that point with that. And it's the high school chemistry lab situation, and we've talked before about how we just don't have enough lab space, and even the lab space we have has too many students per station. So I think that the superintendent and I wanted to share with you the challenges we're facing in some of these building projects, and hope that we could have a discussion and a decision about how we wanted to proceed.
Well, yes, I understand the financial situation that we're all in, that every city and town is in Massachusetts, but I think you're right, Carl. The community needs to know. You know, for example, we've talked about window replacement at the middle school for maybe 3 or 4 years now, if not longer. And we have single pane window, I mean, they're energy inefficient, but yet we keep saying, well, maybe we're gonna get around to doing a project at the middle school. Well, no, if we have to make a set of priority and we decide in the high school, then we have to really start looking at these middle school renovations, and hopefully we can get some funding from MSBA, because I know that they are kind of looking at renovations a little bit differently than they are building projects. But there is so much stuff at this school alone. Water heating system, the tiles, the windows, the elevator for access, where we don't have an elevator for second floor access here for either, physically challenged students or a student who breaks their leg and, is in a wheelchair. So I think, in the numbers can be astounding when you talk about a septic system for the middle and high school. We're talking at least $1.5 million. And it's something that we keep putting off every year, hoping we can get one more year out of the system. And if you drive your car up here and have any business to do with the school, a lot of times during the school year, you can smell why we maybe need to do something with the septic system. Very often there's an unfriendly odor coming from the septic system. Tile replacements, $500,000. I don't think the tile's ever been touched here at the middle school.
And the boiler.
And the boiler.
42 years old.
Exactly.
What else do we expect?
It's and then even the small ones, and I just marked this down as a concern. I know we have nothing for furniture for fiscal year '09. And, one of the biggest issues when we walked around and did that tour of the high school with Catherine Craven, even she made the comment, unprovoked, stating the poor condition of the furniture. None of it matches. You got tables this high, that high, broken, cracked, not dangerous, but certainly not the kind of furniture we want to have in our schools. And so by not having money in here for furniture, that concerns me. We build a new school like the Batch, and we try to use a lot of old furniture, but at some point you have to have a program where you're regularly replacing furniture. You do it in your home. You have to do it in the schools also. But I guess tonight what we need to do is narrow these down and have a list of recommendations to go on the town warrant, correct, in October?
Yes, that's correct. We'll have one more shot at it, but I believe this town administrator wanted the information sometime in late July for preliminary purposes.
Right. So he really wants to vote tonight?
Well, yeah, I think so. And again, what Greg Balakonis has done is has taken the requests, put using the priorities that he's stated here, the criteria 1 through 8, and then made a determination that only those items in number 1 would be funded.
I think it's a little confusing to say priorities. I think it's more like categories that
Yeah,
you establish.
it's not
Because
our-
priorities
right,
are different. I mean, he's established categories for each of these types of capital improvements. We've got priorities that are different than his categories, obviously.
Yeah. And just to quickly address the athletic field, I know somebody might say, well, how can that be a priority? And that athletic field, I think it's sad that we call it an athletic field. It's I don't know when the last time it had real grass on it. And you can say, well, that's not a priority for the school system. How does it have an impact on the education? Well, it has an impact because it limits the programs we can offer students, and it's also gets a lot of use by town athletic programs. And until the town figures out how we can get a turf field somewhere in town, that's going to continue to be a problem. That's a lot of money that to put toward an athletic field, but at the same time, I think we need something like that. It includes irrigation. It includes finding the water for the irrigation system. And again, we put this is another one we've been talking about, I think, since I've come on the committee, is addressing the middle school athletic field. And I believe the Diamond Club, I think, has done, or someone's done some work up there on the baseball field for the JV team and freshman team and for the town usage. But guess we need to, we need to look at this list, see if there's anything else that anybody else wants to add to it, and, or if there's anything we can subtract. Gary?
Realistically, I think looking at this, I mean, Kyle's outlined what our top priorities are, and that's the building security, which we need to finish.
Right.
$150,000 of technology lease, which if we don't do, it's gonna come out of our own budget. And the small cap, $50,000. I would prioritize those three areas. The other areas in particular, especially the ones dealing with this building, it seems to me to make sense to wait and see what our intentions are going forward with the building projects. If we basically say we're gonna go forward with the high school building project, then I think we need to turn our attention to the project in the middle school that need to be done and really start to push those. But I don't think for October town meeting, we're really gonna be prepared to say, okay, let's go forward with these projects for middle school, not knowing what our intentions are gonna be for the secondary school building projects, if that makes sense. I'm just trying to basically highlight the things we have to get done. These other projects are all necessary, but I think they'll fall into place a little bit better when we know what our position is on the secondary school building.
I'd like to add the asbestos removal.
Right, middle school, the asbestos removal, I agree.
That's fine, I think that's something you can look at as a priority one type of category possible.
That to me is like having a case of dynamite in the middle of the room, and as long as nobody touches it, it'll be okay.
Right, fine,
But,
right.
somebody's bound to touch it.
Right.
And some kid's gonna, flick a pin into the ceiling or something like that.
Some dust is
Well,
gonna
they
come down.
never do that.
I agree,
like that, we've
I
got
agree
a
we can
problem.
make that a priority, because I think the cost is something that, although it's $60,000 now, but I do agree with Kyle that there's probably asbestos in almost every single building that was built in the last 40 years, and that, to come in and really rip it all out would be a major project. But yeah, I would go along with that. I just think the others, if we throw them out there, it's probably gonna be met with the same response. We're not ready for those things yet. And that if we're gonna go forward and emphasize, our intentions are gonna be to go forward to the high school, then absolutely positively, the infrastructure type things on this building that need to be done, regardless of whether down the road we go forward with a secondary project, things like the boiler and those things are gonna be done already, and it's not like you're gonna have to tear them out or repeat them, because we're gonna be using the same facility, obviously.
I agree with both Jerry's reasoning and priorities and Cliff's addition of the asbestos abatement. I would want to include the middle school nurse's office, simply because I don't think it's ADA compliant, is it? Can someone in a wheelchair actually get into the nurse's area if they needed to?
I don't know if all areas are, and I think the question there,
I mean,
and
I
again.
realize not everywhere in the building is necessarily ADA compliant, but I think it would be, the nurse's office especially
Should
ought to
be.
be accessible to
Right.
everyone. But I mean, that's something I would want to include
Right.
on our list for town meeting, would be the nurse's office, because I mean, that's a major issue, not having privacy in the nurse's office.
I think it's humorous that we call it an office, a nurse's office,
Yeah,
because
sort of the nurse's hallway with
closet
little
extension
bits
kind
here
of
and there.
thing.
Actually thinking, as Carl said, that many of the items on the list, starting from number 6 pretty much down, comes from the building committee and their projected thoughts about some of the high priority projects at both the middle and the high school. I guess my question here is, the number for that, or any one of these projects, is a couple of years old now, and does it carry, what we end up doing traditionally is just rolling these over and rolling them over and rolling them over year after year. So looking at that, even the nurses at 25,000,
That could be a low number, right?
it could be a low number. And then the other thing is, in the long run, because the nurse's office, where it's located, really, that's not where it
Not
was.
the ideal location.
No, that's not where, that wasn't built for the nurse's office originally. Originally, it was on the other side of the lobby, where